Your first reaction is immediate. A dark shape circles the ceiling, your dog starts barking, and every old horror movie suddenly feels like a safety manual. You reach for a broom, a towel, maybe even a can of pesticide. But the animal above you is not hunting you. It is frightened, disoriented, and searching for the same thing you are searching for: an exit. Stop and watch the pattern. It is not diving at your face, it is banking around walls, because your room is a maze and its wings need open air. Wait a second. This is airborne pest control. A bat inside your living space does need to be handled carefully, especially because any possible physical contact must be taken seriously. But the bat itself is not a monster, and the bat population outside your house may be removing enormous numbers of night-flying insects from your yard. The important distinction is simple. You do not want a bat loose in your bedroom, but you may very much want bats feeding above your garden. In the next few minutes, you will learn why a bat enters a house, what it is actually hunting, how its flight differs from an attack, when rabies is a genuine concern, and how to move from panic to a safe decision without destroying one of the most useful nocturnal predators in your neighborhood. Mammal, big brown bat. When a bat appears in a US house, one likely candidate is the big brown bat, Eptesicus fuscus, a widespread insect-eating species found across most of the continental United States, southern Canada, Mexico, and parts of the Caribbean. The scientific name, Eptesicus, refers to a group of evening bats, meaning bats that often begin feeding around dusk. An adult big brown bat usually measures about 4 to 5 inches from nose to tail, with a wingspan near 12 or 13 inches. That sounds large while it is flying around your ceiling, but much of what you see is wing membrane. The body beneath those wings may weigh only about half an ounce, roughly the mass of a few coins. Your visitor could also be a little brown bat, Myotis lucifagus, especially in northern regions. Myotis means mouse-eared, a reference to the small ears and compact face, not to any relationship with mice. Bats are not flying rodents. They belong to the order Chiroptera, a name meaning hand wing, because the wing is supported by elongated finger bones covered by a thin, living membrane. They are the only mammals capable of sustained powered flight, rather than simple gliding. You may also assume the bat is blind. It is not. Big brown bats can see, but in darkness they add a second sensory system, echolocation, which means producing high-frequency calls and reading the returning echoes. Many of those calls are above the range of your hearing. By changing the timing and frequency of each pulse, the bat can estimate the position, direction, texture, and movement of an insect in flight. Your walls, lamps, curtains, and door frames produce echoes too, which is why the animal can navigate your room without deliberately aiming at you. Your next suspicion is that the bat came inside to attack, nest, or drink blood. Flip that assumption. In the United States, the bats most likely to enter homes are insectivores, meaning animals that eat insects. They are not vampire bats, and they are not trying to build a nest in your hair. Bats do not build bird-like nests. They roost, meaning they rest while hanging or wedging themselves into protected spaces, such as tree cavities, loose bark, rock cracks, shutters, wall gaps, barns, attics, and narrow openings near rooflines. A single bat in your living room may have entered through an open door, an unscreened window, a chimney, or a gap near an air conditioner. Young bats learning to fly can make navigation mistakes in late summer. A bat that has been roosting inside a wall can also follow warm air or light through a small interior opening and emerge into the occupied part of your house. Big brown bats can use gaps around half an inch wide, and smaller species can exploit openings closer to 3/8 of an inch. To you, that gap looks sealed. To a bat, it can look like a narrow, safe cave entrance. Outside, the same animal becomes a precision hunter. It leaves its roost around dusk and patrols forest edges, yards, ponds, streetlights, fields, and corridors between trees. A big brown bat often pursues beetles, moths, leafhoppers, flying ants, caddisflies, and other insects large enough to provide a useful return for every burst of flight. A little brown bat takes many smaller insects, including midges, moths, caddisflies, and mosquitoes. The bat may seize prey directly with its mouth or use the wing and tail membrane as a temporary scoop, bending the insect toward its jaws in a movement that lasts only a fraction of a second. That does not mean every bat spends the entire night eating mosquitoes. The claim that one bat will automatically clear every mosquito from your property is too simple. Diet changes with species, habitat, season, prey abundance, and the energetic value of each insect. A large beetle or moth contains more food than one mosquito, so a bat may favor larger prey when it can catch them. Laboratory feeding trials have shown that small bats are physically capable of consuming hundreds of mosquito-sized insects in an hour under concentrated conditions, and widely repeated estimates reach roughly 1,000 per hour for little brown bats. In your yard, however, insects are dispersed, winds change, and the bat chooses among many prey species. The honest conclusion is still impressive. Bats can remove substantial numbers of flying insects, including mosquitoes, but they function as part of a larger control system, rather than as a guaranteed mosquito-erasing machine. You may look for chewed leaves or damaged fruit and blame the bat because it was the largest animal you saw. That diagnosis points in the wrong direction. The insect-eating bats commonly entering U.S. houses do not cut holes in your tomato leaves, scallop the edges of your basil, or rasp cavities into strawberries. A caterpillar usually leaves visible bites, missing leaf tissue, dark droppings called frass, and damage that expands as the larva grows. A slug leaves irregular holes with smooth, wet-looking edges and often a silvery slime trail across the leaf or soil. Aphids pierce plant tissue rather than chewing it, so they produce curled leaves, distorted new growth, sticky honeydew, and sometimes black, sooty mold. Japanese beetles, Popillia japonica, skeletonize leaves by eating the soft tissue between veins. A bat leaves none of those feeding marks. Its presence over the garden means it may be hunting the adult moths or beetles responsible for producing the larvae that damage your plants later. You may think one small mammal cannot influence the number of insects around a house. But a bat survives by eating repeatedly, night after night, through the warm season. A nursing female has especially high energy demands because milk production is expensive. Instead of placing a toxic residue on every leaf, the bat searches through the air column above your roof, trees, lawn, and garden. It can intercept moths before they lay eggs and beetles before they reach a crop. That matters because many garden pests have two very different stages, a flying adult and a plant-eating larva. Consider the corn earworm, Helicoverpa zea. The adult is a moth. Its larvae attack corn ears, tomatoes, peppers, beans, and other crops. A bat that catches the adult moth is not merely removing one insect from the night sky. It may also prevent that female from depositing hundreds of eggs. The same principle applies to cutworm moths in the family Noctuidae, whose caterpillars sever seedlings near the soil line, and to spotted cucumber beetles, Diabrotica undecipunctata, whose adults chew leaves and whose larvae attack roots. Big brown bats commonly consume hard-bodied beetles, while smaller Myotis bats often take softer moths, midges, and aquatic insects. Together, different bat species occupy different hunting zones and prey sizes. For you, the payoff is continuous surveillance. A chemical insecticide works only where and when you apply it. It may degrade in sunlight, wash away in rain, miss insects hidden under leaves, or harm non-target species such as native bees, lacewings, predatory wasps, and aquatic invertebrates. A bat selects moving prey in the air and leaves no chemical film on your patio furniture, vegetables, or children's play area. Bats also provide pest control services to U.S. agriculture, valued in the billions of dollars each year, because they suppress crop-feeding insects before those insects can reproduce or cause more damage. But there is a threshold. 1 or 2 bats feeding over a quarter-acre yard can reduce part of the nightly insect traffic, yet they cannot compensate for a neglected source producing thousands of mosquitoes. A single water-filled bucket can support a dense group of mosquito larvae. Several clogged gutters, an uncovered rain barrel, plant saucers, discarded tires, and a low area that holds water after every storm can overwhelm what aerial predators remove. If you still receive repeated bites within 5 minutes of standing outside at dusk, or you find mosquito larvae wriggling in multiple water containers, your bat population is not enough by itself. The correct response is not to spray the bat's food supply indiscriminately. It is to empty standing water at least once a week, screen rain barrels, clear gutters, repair drainage, and use a larvicide labeled for water that cannot be drained. Bats catch adults. You gain far more control when you also stop the larvae. Then comes the fear that matters most: rabies. You should neither exaggerate it nor dismiss it. Rabies is a viral disease that attacks the nervous system, and once clinical symptoms appear, it is almost always fatal. In the United States, bats are an important source of human rabies infections, even though only a small fraction of bats in the wild are infected. The problem is not that every bat is dangerous. The problem is that a bat's teeth can leave a small mark, and a sleeping person may not recognize that contact occurred. So your decision depends on the circumstances. If the bat merely flew into a room while you were awake, never touched anyone, and remained separated from people and pets, you may be able to let it leave safely. But if you were bitten, scratched, or touched by the bat, if saliva may have reached your eyes, mouth, or broken skin, or if you woke up with a bat in the room, contact your local health department or animal control authority promptly. The same caution applies when a bat is found near an unattended young child, a person with impaired awareness, or someone who may not be able to describe contact reliably. Do not release the bat until a public health professional has advised you, because capturing it safely for rabies testing may prevent unnecessary treatment or establish that treatment is needed. Never pick up a bat with bare hands. Never assume a bat that allows handling is tame. A healthy wild bat generally tries to avoid you, so one lying on the floor, active in daylight, unable to fly, or behaving unusually deserves extra caution. Keep pets away as well, and make sure their rabies vaccinations are current. This is not panic. It is a precise safety boundary. Now look again at the flight around your room. What feels like an attack is usually escape behavior. A bat needs airspeed to remain aloft, and a confined room forces it to bank repeatedly. When it passes near your head, it may be following the largest open flight path, investigating an air current, or dropping lower to gain speed. Its echolocation system is sampling the space many times each second. The bat does not need to collide with you to know where you are. Speed in this situation is flight, not aggression. You may be tempted to solve the problem by killing the animal. That converts a manageable wildlife encounter into a possible legal, ecological, and health problem. Some U.S. bat species are federally protected. Others are protected under state law, and exclusions can be restricted during maternity season. More importantly, striking a bat increases the chance of direct contact. The calm approach protects you better. A bat inside your house is also evidence. Treat it like a detective treats a footprint. One accidental visitor near an open door may mean exactly that. A door was open at dusk. A bat appearing in the same room twice, droppings accumulating below a roof edge, squeaking inside a wall, or several bats emerging from one gap after sunset points to a roosting site within the structure. Bat droppings, called guano, can resemble mouse droppings, but fresh guano often crumbles and reveals shiny insect fragments because the bat has been digesting beetle shells, moth scales, and other hard parts. Mouse droppings tend to remain denser and are usually associated with gnaw marks, food damage, and travel routes along walls. Do not crush or sweep large guano accumulations dry. Disturbing contaminated dust can expose you to fungal spores, including Histoplasma capsulatum, in areas where that soil fungus occurs. A substantial accumulation belongs in the hands of a trained remediation professional, using appropriate respiratory protection and containment. The timing also tells you something. A lone bat entering in late summer may be a young animal that made a navigation error. Repeated winter appearances may indicate big brown bats hibernating inside walls or an attic and moving when indoor temperatures fluctuate. A stream of bats leaving one roof gap shortly after sunset strongly suggests an established colony. If you see one bat, you have one event. If you count 5, 10, or 20 emerging from the same seam on consecutive evenings, you have a structural entry point and likely a roost. The root cause is not the bat's attraction to you. It is a building opening that leads to a protected cavity. Your first option is to leave it a root out. Use this only when no possible human or pet exposure has occurred. Close interior doors so the bat remains in one room. Remove pets and people. Open an exterior door or window. Remove the screen. Switch off ceiling fans. Dim the room and give the animal time to orient. Do not chase it with a broom. Chasing makes the flight more erratic and increases the chance of contact. A bat that lands may rest high on a curtain or wall before attempting another flight. Your second option is relocation by trained help. If the bat cannot leave, if it is grounded, if exposure may have occurred, or if you are not comfortable managing the room, call animal control, your local health department, or a licensed wildlife professional. A professional can capture the bat without bare-hand contact and preserve it for testing when public health authorities recommend that step. This is especially important when you woke to find the bat in your bedroom. In that situation, do not simply open the window and erase the evidence you may need for a medical decision. Your third option is to fix the root cause. Watch the exterior of your house around sunset and identify where bats emerge, but do not seal an active hole while bats are inside. Proper exclusion uses one-way devices that allow bats to leave but prevent them from returning, followed by permanent sealing after the structure is confirmed empty. Never perform exclusion during the local maternity period when flightless pups may be trapped inside. Across much of the United States, wildlife guidance treats roughly mid-May through mid-August as a period to avoid exclusion, but exact timing varies by state, species, latitude, and weather. Check with your state wildlife agency before work begins. Your intervention threshold should be concrete. One bat that entered through an open window with no exposure and no repeat appearance calls for safe release and inspection. 2 indoor appearances within a month, visible guano below the same wall or roof seam, or 3 or more bats emerging from one opening on 2 consecutive evenings calls for a professional building assessment. A bat in a room with a sleeping person, an unattended child, or anyone who may not reliably report contact calls for immediate public health guidance, regardless of how healthy the animal appears. Once the bats are excluded from the building, you can still keep their pest control service in your yard. Preserve mature trees where safe. Reduce unnecessary outdoor lighting that disrupts nocturnal movement. Avoid broad-spectrum pesticide use and protect clean water sources. A correctly designed bat house may provide alternative roosting space, but it is not a guaranteed relocation device and should never be used as an excuse to seal pups inside a wall. Mounting design, solar exposure, internal temperature, chamber dimensions, nearby habitat, and regional climate all influence whether bats accept it. The lesson is not that a bat belongs in your bedroom. It does not. The lesson is that an indoor bat and an outdoor bat create 2 different decisions. Inside, you protect people, evaluate possible contact, and close the structural entry point. Outside, you recognize a native predator that hunts moths, beetles, midges, leafhoppers, and mosquitoes while you sleep. So when that dark shape crosses your ceiling, do not turn it into a horror story. Turn on your judgment. Keep your distance. Protect the bat for testing when exposure is possible. Give it a safe exit when exposure is ruled out. Then inspect your house and your yard. The animal is not only telling you that insects are active after sunset, it may also be showing you where your building envelope has failed and where your mosquito control plan is incomplete. Have you ever run into a bat in your own home? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. If you want to know who else is living in your house, subscribe. In the next episode, you will meet the night hunter hiding behind your shutters and learn why its enormous eyes are built for prey, not for watching you. See you in the next episode.